Hi, I'm Nate, 35, and on the day we were supposed to celebrate our 5th wedding anniversary, I found out my parents gave away our paid-in-full venue to my sister for her 2nd wedding, again. That same week, my hair started coming out in the shower. It started with a voicemail from my mom. All bright and sugary like she'd just gotten a great deal on throw pillows. Hey, sweetie! Just letting you know we gave the garden terrace slot to Heather since you guys hadn't confirmed catering yet. I know you'll understand. You're always so reasonable. I replayed it 3 times before I sat down. Because garden terrace slot was code for the venue I paid for 6 months ago for our 5th anniversary vow renewal, and Heather was code for my younger sister who once used my toothbrush as a grout brush in college and never replaced it. She was getting married for the 2nd time. To the same guy. After their trial divorce, which lasted 6 weeks and ended when she realized he still had the jet skis. I called my mom back. Mom, I said, calm like I practiced in therapy. What do you mean you gave away our venue? Oh, honey. She sighed, like she just finished yoga and forgiveness. You know Heather's been under so much stress. She needs this. Besides, you and Max are solid. You don't need a whole event to prove it. We'd been planning that day for a year. The date matched the original wedding. The garden was where we first danced. My husband Max had even arranged for the same string quartet, yes, including the cellist who now played exclusively in cruise ships and demanded airfare. And it was all supposed to happen in 2 weeks. I hung up and stared at the wall for 10 minutes. Then I called Heather. Her voice? Already dripping with fake guilt. Oh my God, Nate! I didn't know you'd already paid. I thought it was just a soft hold. Heather, it was in my name. I sent you the invitation. She gasped, like someone had just slapped her with a silk glove. Wow. Okay, well, maybe this is a sign you guys should do something more intimate. It's what everyone's doing now. Then she had the audacity to say, I manifested that terrace. The energy just aligned. I said nothing. Because I was too busy wondering when my scalp had started itching. That night, I pulled out an old bottle of shampoo and felt more hair than usual in the drain. Thought it was stress. I was right. I just didn't know how much was coming. When I told Max, he sat very still, then said, They keep doing this to you. I nodded. And then he asked a question that changed everything. Do you want to still throw the event? Or do you want to finally throw the match? I didn't answer right away. Because somewhere inside me, something had started to burn. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I kept picturing the terrace, the lavender hedge Max loved, the fountain shaped like a lion's head that my mother once called too tacky for a real event. Until Heather saw it on Pinterest, and suddenly it was classy European. Max had gone to bed early, jaw tight, eyes soft. He wasn't angry at me. He was angry for me, which somehow felt worse. At 2:13 a.m., I opened a blank Google Doc titled, Things I'm Done With. First bullet. Being the family shock absorber. By 2:30, I'd written 15 more. The last one read, Giving people second chances when they're still on their first apology. At sunrise, I walked into the bathroom and noticed the side of my head looked uneven in the mirror. I ran a hand over my scalp and a full clump came away, quiet and horrifying. I whispered, Okay. Okay. And then I called my doctor. By the end of the week, I had 3 things: a diagnosis, stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, a folder of treatment options, and not one phone call from my parents asking about the venue fallout. They had, however, sent a group text of Heather in her bridal brunch robe, posing by the fountain. Caption: Meant to be. I showed it to Max. He stared at it for a long second and then said, We're not doing this anymore. This version of your life where you get mistreated and call it loyalty. So we made a plan. Not for a vow renewal, those dreams were on ice. We made a plan for my health, my work leave, my schedule, and here's the part one didn't expect: our exit strategy. From the family, from the guilt, from the unpaid emotional labor I'd been doing since I was 12 and Heather blamed me for crashing the car with her energy. We told no one. Not yet. Instead, I started chemo quietly, like a side hustle. My hair came out fast. Day 4 of treatment, I stepped into the shower and watched it swirl like ash into the drain. Max helped me buzz what was left that night. We put on a playlist and tried to make it funny. It wasn't. But he kissed my head afterward and said, You look like someone who just finished saving a planet. And just like that, I started writing a new list. Things I'm becoming. Top of the list. Someone who doesn't owe his family an apology for choosing peace. The second I hit remission, if I made it that far, I was done playing background character in my own life. Especially not to a woman who calls a jet ski a spiritual reset. I hit my lowest point on a Tuesday. It was a week before Heather's rescheduled wedding/brunch/spiritual reboot, and my white blood cell count was in the toilet. I was gray, exhausted, and Max had just come back from CVS with a $40 bag of things that all smelled like eucalyptus and medical surrender. That morning, I'd gotten an invite from my mother. Not a call. Not a text. An actual paper invite, rose gold trim, cursive font, the whole 9 yards. It said, "Heather and Jason, take 2. A renewal of sacred energy and eternal love." Underneath it read, "Dress code, coastal elegant. Vibes only." And at the very bottom, like an afterthought, "P.S. Nate and Max, there's space if you're up for it." I laughed. Out loud. Then started coughing so hard I had to sit down. Max took the card out of my hand and said, "They seriously mailed this?" I nodded. He threw it in the trash. Then I got the email. From my dad. Subject line, "Hope you'll come." The body read, "I know tensions were high about the venue. But you've always been our calm one. Heather needs this. We're just trying to support our daughter's happiness. We'd really love to see you there, even just for the reception. Love you." I sat there for a full minute. Then typed, "I'm in chemo." Then I deleted it. Because even then, I couldn't bring myself to make my pain the headline. Instead, I closed my laptop and walked into the kitchen where Max was making tea. "Hey," I said quietly, "do you think it's possible to build a life that doesn't include people who raised you?" He turned slowly, leaned against the counter, and said, "Only if you want to start living on your terms." And then, like the universe wanted to clarify its opinion, my phone buzzed. A notification. Heather had tagged me in a story. It was a boomerang of her laughing with a mimosa in hand and the caption, "Just a girl, a garden, and the universe that loves me back." She tagged me to rub it in. She always did. I stared at it for a long time. Then I messaged my old college roommate, Steven, now a UX lead in Austin who'd been trying to poach me for years. "You still got that job open?" I typed. His reply came 11 seconds later. "Hell yes. Let's talk offer." That was the moment. Not when I lost my hair. Not when the chemo hit. Not even when my family chose Heather again. It was that text. Because for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't asking for permission. I was giving myself the green light. By Friday, I'd accepted the job in Austin. Double my old salary. Remote flexibility during treatment. Mental health stipend. Steven even sent a care package before I signed the often noise-canceling headphones, snacks, and a post-it that read, "Time to build your real life." Max was ecstatic. "I already started looking at places," he said, flipping his laptop toward me. "This one has a kitchen island big enough for a buffet and a soaking tub with jets." "Why do I feel like this is how you lure me into healing?" I said. He just grinned. "Jets cure everything." I didn't tell my parents. Or Heather. They were too busy building a Pinterest altar to her new wedding era. Apparently, she was doing a live Dove release this time. Symbolic of spiritual reentry. She'd said in a post that got 87 likes and one confused Dove emoji. Instead, I quietly put in my notice at work and started making lists. Packing. Planning. Reclaiming. I also sent an email to the terrace coordinator. Short and direct. "Hi, I'm writing to confirm the venue slot I paid for has been reassigned without refund or consent. I'm formally requesting an accounting of funds and an explanation of the breach of contract." They responded within 2 hours. Apologetic. Horrified. Turns out my parents had told them I gave the slot to Heather as a family favor. I attached the receipts. The deposit. The full payment confirmation. The manager called me personally, nearly crying. "We're so sorry, Mr. Emerson. We've revoked her booking. Full refund is being processed today. And if you ever want to rebook with us, we'll comp the entire event." I said thank you. Then asked if they had any slots still open in the next few weeks. They did. 1. The same weekend as Heather's wedding. Max turned to me when I told him, "You want to do something?" I shrugged. "What if we threw a party? Not for vows. Just for surviving. For starting over. For living." He didn't even blink. Survivors Gala? Better, I said. The reclamation? I sent out 10 invites. No family. Just our people. The ones who brought soup and silence when words weren't needed. The ones who sat through my first 4 and didn't try to fix it. The ones who knew Max and I by heart, not holiday cards. That weekend, Heather released her Doves. We released a Spotify playlist called Hairless but Headstrong, and danced under string lights until I nearly forgot I'd once cried in that same garden thinking my life had been stolen. It hadn't. It had just begun again. And here's the kicker, my mom called during the event. I let it go to voicemail. She said, "We're disappointed you couldn't be here to support your sister. It's been a really hard journey for her. Family is about showing up, Nathan." I laughed. Because for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly what family was, and it wasn't a lecture tape to the end of a voicemail from someone who skipped my diagnosis but RSVP'd to Heather's second attempt at a spiritual enlightenment cake cutting. That night, Max and I sat on the grass, my head in his lap, and he said, "You're changing." "Yeah," I whispered. "But this time, it's because I want to." We moved to Austin the following month. Everything about it felt like rebellion in lowercase. Bright paint, fresh starts, late-night tacos. The apartment was half unpacked, the couch came in 2 deliveries, and Max made it his mission to find the best sunlight spot for my chair. For morning tea and triumphant vibes. My parents still didn't know I'd left the state. They found out when Heather posted a reel titled Family Brunch Recap, panning over all the guests, none of whom were me. My cousin Danny commented, "Where's Nate and Max?" Heather replied, "They moved. Didn't even tell Mom." It's giving betrayal. Max saw it first. Read it out loud while watering our tiny succulents. Then looked at me and asked, "You okay?" And I realized I was. Not numb. Not bitter. Just done. Like when you've been holding a pose too long and finally drop your arms. A few days later, I got a group text from my dad. Just a photo of Heather and Jason on a pier somewhere holding hands, captioned, "Happiness looks good on them. Hope you find your way back to the family someday." I stared at it. No words. Just that dull ache of familiarity, the message behind the message. Why aren't you clapping for her harder? Max watched me from across the room. "You gonna reply?" I opened the text thread. Type. "I found my family." I'm looking at him. Then I deleted it. Because they wouldn't hear it. Not really. Instead, I screenshotted it. Printed it. Taped it inside the new pantry next to our calendar, and a sticky note that read, "Chemo, final round September 8th. That date was getting closer. And so was the finish line. My oncologist said things looked promising. Tumor response was excellent. My blood work was beautiful. It was the first time I'd heard the word beautiful used about any part of my body in months. I texted Steven, my boss, now just a thumbs up and a photo of my appointment wristband. He replied with 6 fire emojis and, "We're throwing a launch party when you're done." Theme, better than ever. Life wasn't perfect. But it was mine. And then, because the universe has a sense of humor, I got a letter in the mail. From Heather. 5 pages. Handwritten. In purple gel pen. She started with, "I'm writing this with love." Which is what she usually says right before saying something you'll need therapy to unpack. Then came, "I'm sorry you felt excluded. But you should understand how hard things have been for me too. You weren't the only one hurting. It's not fair to punish Mom and Dad when they were just trying to keep the peace. You know how sensitive they are. And the closer? I hope one day you'll come back and we can all be a family again. Maybe once you've healed a little. Spiritually, I mean." Max found me halfway through reading it. He didn't ask. Just took the last page from my hand, read the line about spiritual healing, and snorted. Then he took a lighter out of the drawer, handed it to me, and said, "Back patio or front?" We chose the back. It felt symbolic. I watched that letter curl into ash like it had always meant to be something lighter. Something finally weightless. And I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. Final chemo hit harder than the rest. Not just the physical stuff, the nausea, the fatigue, the part where my bones felt like they'd been soaking in vinegar, but the emotional wall I didn't see coming. I'd spent so much time focused on getting through treatment, I hadn't thought about what came after. Survivor's guilt is real, even when you survive your own silence. I lay in bed, 3 days post-final infusion, watching the ceiling like it might change color. Max curled beside me, reading the same page of a book for the fourth time, just to be near. "You don't have to keep watching me breathe," I muttered. He looked up, deadpan. "You are literally the love of my life, and you just fought death with your bare immune system. I'm watching you like my favorite show." I smiled barely. "You're creepy. You're beautiful," he said gently. "Even bald. Especially bald." Later that night, I opened my laptop and typed out an update for the people who mattered, the friends, the coworkers, the few cousins still in my corner. A little email titled, "Ringing the Bell," silently, but proudly. It read, "Hi. I finished treatment. I'm tired. I'm grateful. And for once, I don't owe anyone an explanation for where I've been. If you've supported me, thank you. If you sent soup or memes or silence, thank you. I'll be back soon. Different, but better." Then I paused. Considered sending it to my parents too. But I didn't. Instead, I sent them nothing. Not out of spite. Out of truth. They didn't ask how I was. They didn't check in. Not once. They did, however, post an anniversary photo with Heather and Jason last week, captioned, "Our second happily ever after. So proud of the journey they're on." I stared at it for a full minute. Then closed the app and went back to my own damn life. A week later, Max and I celebrated the end of chemo with a drive to the coast. Not the fancy resort towns. Just a quiet cabin near Port Aransas. He packed chips. I packed ginger tea. We watched dolphins at sunrise and read paperbacks on the porch, while the wind made everything feel like a movie. The morning we left, I shaved what was left of my patchy post-chemo stubble and stared at my face in the mirror. Not because I hated what I saw, but because I finally saw it. Me. Just me. The man who'd been born inside someone else's expectations, broke open during betrayal, and rebuilt himself with boundary lines so sharp they gleamed. Later, in the car, Max reached over, took my hand, and said, "I think you're about to become dangerous." I turned to him. "Dangerous?" "In the best way," he said. "You're not scared of losing them anymore." And he was right. Because you only fear rejection when you think it erases your worth. But I'd been through the fire now. Lost things. Kept others. Found myself in the ash. And I wasn't afraid of burning bridges anymore. Not when I'd learned how to build homes instead. 2 months later, I got a text from my mother. No greeting. No emojis. Just, "Your sister is expecting. Thought you should hear it from us, not social media." That was it. No. "How are you?" No. "Congrats on finishing treatment." No. "Sorry we haven't called." Just, more Heather. More deflection dressed up as information. Max saw my face as I read it. "Another spiritual miracle?" "She's pregnant." He raised his eyebrows, unimpressed. "How many doves will she release this time?" I didn't respond to the text. Not because I didn't care. Because I was finally learning that silence is also a sentence. Instead, I added a new sticky note to our fridge. "Your piece doesn't need a permission slip." That became the theme of our lives. We started hosting game nights in Austin. Real ones. With people who didn't require disclaimers or eggshells. We made our own family a software developer named Juno who wore overalls and baked lavender cookies, a couple from down the hall who'd fought their own battles with cancer and still left notes on our door that said things like, "You're killing it, not literally." We even got a dog rescue mutt, part terrier, part pure chaos. Named him Jet. After Heather's jet ski. Max's idea. His revenge is adorable. One night, while scrolling through Zillow just for fun, I found it. A little fixer-upper in a quiet corner of East Austin. Faded blue shutters, overgrown garden, hardwood floors that needed love. Max leaned over my shoulder. "You want to see it?" "Not just see it," I said. "I want to claim it." Because something had shifted in me. This wasn't about escaping anymore. This was about building. We toured the house that weekend. The door stuck. The bathroom tile was a crime scene. But the moment I stepped into the backyard, a wild sprawl of weeds and dreams, I knew. It was ours. We closed on the house 4 weeks later. Max cried. I didn't. I felt ready. That night, after the last box was shoved into a corner, I sat on the floor in our new living room and reread the final line of Heather's baby announcement post. "Can't wait to raise our baby surrounded by family love." Family. The word hit different now. To Heather, it meant a cast of unpaid emotional extras to prop her up during every season of reinvention. To me, it meant Max in paint-splattered jeans, humming off-key while building bookshelves. It meant Jet chewing a sneaker and wagging his whole body in apology. It meant Juno texting, "Need help unpacking or just pizza and gossip?" It meant choosing. And not one person in that definition required me to perform for their approval. Later, Max handed me a Sharpie and said, "First wall graffiti tradition?" I took it. Wrote on the inside of the closet door, "This is what starting over actually looks like." And underneath, in Max's messy scrawl, "And we are not sending invites this time." We threw a housewarming 6 weeks later. No formal invites, no Facebook events, just a group text that read, "We've got pizza, bad music, and a working fridge. Bring nothing except stories." 15 people showed up. Juno brought lavender scones. Our neighbor Greg brought folding chairs and a cooler he called the Dad Arsenal. Someone brought Jet a tiny party hat. He hated it. We all laughed. At one point in the night, I stood in the kitchen, paper plate in hand, looking around at the people who'd become my family. The music was playing some terrible remix of an 80s song. Max was telling a story with too much gesturing, and I was exactly where I wanted to be. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message read, "You don't get to shut us out forever. Heather's baby shower is next month. She wants you there." No name, but I didn't need one. I could practically hear the perfume through the screen. I didn't answer. Because that's the thing about boundaries, once you set them, people will test them like fire alarms. Over and over, just to see if they still work. They do. A week later, I sent a package. Inside, a baby blanket Max and I found at a farmer's market. Handmade. Soft. No note. Not a truce. Just a gesture. A single gift from one adult to another. With no strings, no expectations, no "Please love me" tucked inside. We never heard back. But the silence didn't sting anymore. It just felt like space. Like distance I chose. That same week, I had my first follow-ups and post-treatment. I sat in the cold, sterile room, fingers laced, heart on edge, while the doctor clicked through results. Then he looked at me and smiled. "Clear," he said. "You're clear." I nodded slowly. Felt the breath leave my body like it had been waiting months for permission. Max was in the waiting room, pacing. When I told him, he didn't say anything at first. Just wrapped his arms around me and whispered, "You did it." Later that night, we sat on the back porch of the new house, Jet asleep at our feet. The wind rustled the leaves like applause. I sipped tea. Max sipped something stronger. And for a long time, we didn't speak. Not because there was nothing to say. Because the quiet was enough. I thought about the man I'd been a year ago, head full of hair, heart full of rope burns from a family I kept trying to drag behind me. And I thought about the man I was now, bald, scarred, still healing, but no longer dragging anything. I used to think survival was about enduring. Now I know survival is about choosing. Choosing rest over resentment. Peace over performance. Life over legacy. We never did reschedule our vow renewal. The terrace remains unused in our story. And that's okay. Because we've built something better than ceremony. We built a life. Messy. Honest. Unspectacular in the best way. Max still calls me his miracle. I still call him my sanity. And Jet, well, he's chewed 3 more shoes since I started this paragraph. Every now and then, I get a text from a cousin or an old family friend. Usually something vague like, "Hope you're doing okay. You should call your mom." I don't. Not because I'm angry. Because I'm done explaining my boundaries to people who never honored them to begin with. This house has a small chalkboard wall in the kitchen. We let guests write on it during visits. On the night of the housewarming, Juno wrote, "Your life. Your light. Your rules." Max added underneath, "And no more damn doves." I added one more line the next morning. "Let the firewood burn. You don't need their warmth if you've got your own." And I do. I really, really do. I added one more line the next morning. "Let the firewood burn. You don't need their warmth if you've got your own." And I do. I really do. I've got the kind of peace you don't post about. The kind you plant. I've got a dog that doesn't care who skipped my milestones, and a man who never did. My hair's gone, but my voice isn't. I survived the cancer. Outgrew the guilt. Buried the fantasy. and finally, I came home to myself.